Judith awakens at 5. She slips out of bed, slides over her naked body a t-shirt of Bobby's that comes down almost to her knees, and pads barefoot across the carpeted house into the kitchen with its cold tiled floor. She brews a pot of coffee, then sits at the kitchen table, drinking from a turquoise cup and reading old newspapers and magazines. Bobby has been very busy lately and never throws out anything until he's read it, so in the corner of his kitchen, there's a 4-foot stack of reading material. She riffles through the past 6 months of the Sunday New York Times, the Forward, Commentary, the Canadian Jewish News, and the occasional National Post or Globe and Mail. While she reads, she bites her left thumbnail, occasionally murmuring softly, "Oh, fuck," or, "Oh my God."
An hour and a half later, Bobby staggers in, bleary-eyed, wearing his shabby blue bathrobe. He stares at the kitchen table, piled high with newspapers. What are you doing?
This is unbelievable. I can't believe what I'm reading.
Bobby looks around the kitchen as if searching for something.
Oh, the coffee's on the stove. I saved you some. I don't know how hot it is, though.
He pours himself a cup, takes a sip, warms it in the microwave, and then sits at the table.
Do you know what's been going on in the world lately? Have you any idea?
He just grunts and sips some coffee.
Listen to this. This is from the Canadian Jewish News. It's a summary of the anti-Semitic incidents all around the world during the past 6 months.
Please, I just woke up. I haven't even had my coffee.
Seriously, listen. In Belgium, a group of thugs beat up the chief rabbi, kicking him in the face and calling him a dirty Jew. 2 synagogues in Brussels were firebombed. A 3rd was sprayed with automatic weapons fire. In Britain, a yeshiva student was stabbed 27 times on a London bus. Anti-Semitism and its open expression, wrote Petronella Wyatt, a columnist in The Spectator, has become respectable at London dinner tables. She quoted one member of the House of Lords as saying, "The Jews have been asking for it, and now, thank God, we can say what we think at last." In Germany...
Okay, all right, I get the picture.
No, let me finish. In Germany, a rabbinical student was beaten up in downtown Berlin. In the Ukraine, they smashed the windows of the main synagogue. In Greece, Jewish graves were desecrated. In Istanbul, 2 synagogues were bombed in the same day, killing 24 people and injuring 300. In France, the situation is worse than anywhere. In Paris alone, there have been 10 to 12 anti-Jewish incidents daily. The statue of Alfred Dreyfus in Paris was painted with the words, "Dirty Jew." In the Jewish neighborhoods, walls have been defaced with "Jews to the gas chambers" and "Death to the Jews." And this one totally freaks me out. A young girl in Aix-en-Provence was accosted by 3 masked men who called her "Dirty Jew" and carved a Jewish star into her arm. I can't believe this, Bobby. It's like in the past 4 months since my father died, the world has gone completely mad.
Bobby is more awake now. With half-open eyes, he looks almost kindly at her. It's not just the past 4 months, Judith. It's the past 2 years. Ever since the Second Intifada started. On that legal committee I volunteered for with the Jewish community, we've been tracking these incidents ever since then, even longer, including what's happening locally in Ontario and all across Canada.
This can't be right. These things weren't going on when I came back here a year ago.
Sure they were. It had already started before that. He gets up and refills his cup. You want some more? You weren't here then. You were still in Israel, so of course you wouldn't know.
I'd have known. There are newspapers, there's CNN. If all this is true, how come I never heard about any of it?
I tried telling you several times, but you never wanted to hear.
She considers this for a moment. It's true. He intermittently brought up this topic and she always brushed it away. I thought it was just your usual obsession with the Holocaust. I didn't realize things were truly this bad.
He smiles ruefully, takes another sip of coffee, and says, "You've had a few other things on your mind since coming back here."
Yes.
She sees herself 14 months ago, arriving at the Toronto airport, one suitcase in hand, not knowing how long she'd be staying, how long her father would live. On the one hand, of course, hoping he'd live forever, but also wanting to get back soon to Israel. Then, once she was here with him while he was dying, his body growing yellower and more emaciated by the week, she couldn't have cared less what was happening in the world. Of course, she still followed the news from Israel, but Canadian or Canadian Jewish news? Why bother? It's only Galut, she thought back then. And anyway, if Canadian Jews choose life in Galut, anti-Semitism is intrinsic, so why do they should stop whining about it? Now, she cringes at the memory.
Bobby is standing by the fridge with the door open. What do you want for breakfast?
Oh, whatever.
Toast? Eggs?
Sure. Oh, no, wait. I should be making you breakfast. Your first day as junior partner.
Oh, come on. He reaches into the fridge for the eggs.
She gazes at his bent over back and then speaks to it. I didn't want to ruin your celebration last night, but Carrie attacked Israel again in class yesterday. Do you want to hear what she said?
Sure. He turns to face her and stands perfectly still, listening with the fridge door wide open behind him. He's holding a carton of eggs and a block of butter.
She said, Israel is the most oppressive country in the world today. According to her, Israel stole the land of Palestine away from the Palestinian people. And the only reason the current situation continues is because of the, quotes, social, economic, and military policies of Zionist imperialism and colonialism, which are supported by the International Jewish Lobby, which controls the media and the banks.
Fucking anti-Semites. He kicks the fridge door shut.
I don't know. Was that really anti-Semitism? This is anti-Semitism, capping the article in the Canadian Jewish News. That bit Carrie said about Jews controlling the banks and the media. Okay, that's straight out of the protocols. But other things she says sometimes, like about the occupation, I'm not so sure. It's like she's always attacking someone I love, and unfairly, mentioning nothing about them but their faults. But it's not illegal or even immoral to attack someone I love, even if it hurts me.
He puts down the eggs and butter. Of course not. Legitimate criticism of Israel is obviously not anti-Semitic. For instance, you and your friends in Israel are all very critical of Sharon and the occupation, and I know a number of people here in Toronto, Jews and non-Jews, who feel the same way. But that's different from anti-Zionism, or the newer term anti-Israelism, which both involve hating Israel. Anyone who hates Israel or wants Israel not to exist is an anti-Semite.
No, Carrie and those guys, they don't hate Israel. They just
what?
She looks at him with a peculiar stunned expression, like someone's just banged her over the head. They hate Israel. They do.
They believe we should give the whole country to the Palestinians, that they have all the rights to the land and we have none. We deserve nothing. You could feel their hatred for Israel. It was scary.
Of course it was. Anti-Semitism is a scary thing. What you've just had is a taste of the new anti-Semitism.
I've been seeing that phrase all morning, but I don't completely get what it is.
He sets down the frying pan and spatula. We were just talking about this at that committee I'm on. Basically, the new anti-Semitism isn't that new. It's actually a recycling of the old kind, just in a new form. Traditional anti-Semitism involved hating, reviling, and persecuting individual Jews. With the new anti-Semitism, it's the Jewish collectivity. In other words, the Jewish state that is hated, reviled, and persecuted. Israel is the symbol and essence of all evil. In Christian terms, the Antichrist. In terms of contemporary culture, Israel is the Darth Vader of the world. It is evil and hated and must be destroyed.
That's exactly how I felt in Greg's class. That Carrie and those guys see Israel as evil. I've never felt that before. Obviously, I knew there's a lot of criticism of Israel internationally, but I thought most of that, say, here in Canada, was because people don't like Sharon, but neither do I. So I never thought about it in the way you're putting it now, as anti-Semitism. I thought they opposed Sharon, so by extension, they opposed Israel. But now I think there's something more to it than that. There's definitely something to what you're saying. I can't believe Carrie mixed the protocols in with her criticisms of Israel.
Of course she did. That's classic. Merging the old anti-Semitism and the new, all under the guise of caring about the Palestinians. It's not coincidental that Israel is a Jewish state. It's precisely because it is a Jewish state that it constantly gets singled out as the worst country in the whole world and the only one that doesn't deserve to exist. Anti-Semitism, courtesy of your friends on the left.
My friends? Carrie's not my friend. Anyway, this has nothing to do with being on the left.
Of course it does. This new anti-Semitism was invented by the left. It's their own special brand of anti-Semitism, complete with a PC stamp of approval.
Bobby, don't. I can't have this argument right now. Anyway, you're mixing apples and oranges.
Are you defending these people, these anti-Semites, just because they're lefties?
I'm not defending anybody.
Just now she feels very tired and physically weak. She's been up since 5 o'clock and they went to sleep at 1 a.m.
I'm just saying that not everyone on the left is a new anti-Semite or an old one either. And even the ones who are don't necessarily think this way just because they're on the left. It has nothing to do with that. As for my friends, as you put it, the people who are my friends at Daniel are good people. Like Cindy and Susie, they're nothing like Carrie. There are people like Carrie, but there are a lot of good lefties too, who genuinely care about people and human rights.
Oh, sure they care about people and their human rights, as long as the people are Palestinians. Their hearts bleed for the Palestinians, but not for Israelis or Jews. No, Israelis have no human rights. Your friends on the left are a bunch of hypocrites.
Like the right has always been so good to the Jews.
Better than the left.
Oh, come on.
Anyway, I'm not on the right. I'm in the center.
Oh, that's what people on the right always say. That's how you know someone is on the right. They're always saying, I'm not on the right, I'm in the center.
Study history, Judith. That's all I'm saying.
Don't you patronize me. Study history, Judith. Study history. Who do you think you are, my teacher? One thing I learned from studying Jewish history is that the temple was destroyed because of groundless hatred. Because we fought amongst ourselves over nothing, so let's not fight anymore. If we can't get along, a lefty and a righty who love each other, what hope is there for the Jewish people?
He smiles thinly. Silently, he brings a bowl, fork, and the eggs to the table and sits. He cracks open 4 eggs, then he begins beating them furiously with a fork.
In Israel, one of the most popular Hebrew expressions is, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs.
He just glances at her without speaking and goes back to pounding the eggs.
Did you know that in Hebrew, the word for eggs, beitzim, is the same as the word for a guy's balls?
This one gets a smile from him. Really? He looks down quizzically at the fork in his hand. Maybe I should be doing this more gently. He takes a bowl of yellow foam to the stove, ignites the flame under the greased pan, and pours in the eggs. There's a sizzling sound and then the rising smell of eggs cooking in butter.
Bobby, what can I do about what happened in Greg's class?
What do you mean?
There must be something I can do. I can't just let Carrie and people like her go around saying whatever they want about Israel, spraying all that hate into the air. Nowadays, no one gets away with doing that. With racism or homophobia or anything else, they shouldn't be allowed to with this new anti-Semitism either.
Something in his face hardens. Sharp lines of bone appear in his jaw. I'll tell you what you can do. You can write your papers, finish your MSW, and get the fuck out of that school as fast as your legs can carry you. That's what you can do. And here's what you cannot do. What you absolutely mustn't do. Try to be a knight on a white horse. That's not you, Judith. You're not the martyr type. Right now, you've got one thing to do, and that's finish your courses and graduate. After that, you can do whatever you want. We could even get married. Okay, scratch that. I know I promised not to bring that up for a while. What I'm saying, just get through this year. He turns toward the stove, flips the eggs, and carries 2 leaden plates to the table. They eat. He glances at his watch. Fuck, it's only 7. What time did you get up?
5.
Barbaric.
When do you have to be at the office today?
Not till 8:30. Yeah, I'm fine.
They eat a while in silence. I should have said something. I should have said something right then and there, struck while the iron was hot.
What would you have said?
I thought about it yesterday. I have a whole script about Israel being the only democracy in the Middle East, not being like South Africa, because in South Africa, they didn't have blacks in their parliament. And in our parliament, 10% are Arabs, stuff like that. I can answer Carrie 1 for 1. But what I really want to say is, who the fuck are you? How dare you insult my country? What if I got up and insulted yours? That's what I wish I'd said.
It's good you didn't. They'd have drawn and quartered you. He wipes up the last bits of egg with the toast.
I don't care. Should have said something. But I froze. What do they call that in sports?
Choking.
I choked.
He takes a gulp of his coffee. Forget it. That incident is behind you now, and you don't have to say anything to anybody. Just keep your mouth shut and play the game. In 6 months, you'll be out of there, and you won't ever have to see any of those people again.
But I'm still going to have to look at myself in the mirror every morning. How can I just stand by and do nothing about this? What did Mordecai say to Queen Esther? Don't think if you keep silent at this time.
So now you're Queen Esther. Enough of your fantasy life, Judith. This is the real world. Nobody likes a martyr. It just makes them feel guilty and bad about themselves. You'll ruin your whole year fighting with people for nothing. You're not going to change anyone's mind about Israel. Let it go.
In other words, play this like a Jew in Galut. Cringe and cower. Suck up and keep my mouth shut. At least in Israel, Jews stand up and fight back.
Oh, here we go again. 3 cheers for Israel. The most perfect place in the world. No problems, no imperfections. Everyone's happy, brave, and heroic all the time.
I never said that.
What did you once tell me Israel was supposed to be? A safe haven for all the Jews? Sure, a lovely, safe place to live. As long as you don't get blown up walking down the street.
At least we're running our own country. We're in our own home.
Maître chez nous.
Well, something like that. We're not just guests in someone else's house.
I don't feel like a guest here. Canada is my home. Well, it is.
I know it is. But that's the problem.
It's not a problem for me.
It's a problem for me. And a problem for us. What?
I can't live there, Judith.
I know that.
No, you don't. You think at some level you'll be able to persuade me to go back there with you, but that's not going to happen. I can't do it. My life is here.
She looks down at her empty plate. She's eaten everything on it without even noticing.
I know that compared to you, I seem very straight and conservative, a typical lawyer with no ideals, no commitment.
I didn't say that.
But that's what you think, at least sometimes. You think I don't have the guts to make it in Israel, but it's not that. I just don't want to. This is my home.
You'd like it in Israel if you tried. I know you would. Why won't you even give it a chance?
You don't understand, Judith.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. You're not even trying to see my point of view.
Well, what do you want me to say, Bobby? I'm not going to stay in Canada and spend the rest of my life in this sterile, middle-class Galut existence. It's fine for you. Joining a committee at the Toronto Jewish Community Board, going to shul occasionally, and otherwise living like any other Canadian. But it's not enough for me. I'm not Moses Mendelssohn willing to live as a Jew at home and a man or woman in the street. I want to live as a Jew all of the time. I want to live a fully Jewish existence And I can't do that here in Galut. I can do that only in Israel.
I have to go. It's getting late.
I hate this. I wish we could start today all over again.
She remembers what her father sometimes did when things in the family went wrong. He'd say, "Let's start over," or "Let's rewind." And they'd all agree to erase what had just happened. Then they'd reenact the discussion or activity, this time making it better, making it right. Can't we just pretend that we just woke up and none of this ever happened? I mean it. Not just our argument, but everything from this whole morning so far. All those articles I read before you came down, I want it all to go away.
Well, I know how to do that. I can make that go away.
You can?
Sure. With a flourish, he sweeps all the newspapers and magazines off the table onto the floor, where they instantly are out of sight.